I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and, you know, and I say this, historically, black colleges and universities were out of money.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to my channel where I cover news and politics and whatever really intrigues me in the news cycle. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure you like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. This particular bit of news is Trump at the National Association of Black Journalists. I had no idea that this organization existed. I didn't know that they had this convention. Not even sure if this is the first year or the fifth year that it is in existence. And the primary reason for that, and really the only reason for that, is because I never really covered news and politics up until very, very recently. So I want to give my takes on this particular thing. I'm not going to do the whole convention conversation. I think it was about 34 minutes or so. But I think one thing when it comes to Trump or any other politician, they are tremendously skilled at what they do. So first and foremost, that's all politicians, including Trump, right? Some may say he just got into politics a couple of years ago, but he's been a businessman for an extremely long time. So you have to give him credit for those things, whether you believe he does them well or not, okay? Same thing for Kamala as well. She is a politician, but when you look at different information from any politician, you have to ask, why are they having certain conversation at a particular time? So this is what this channel focuses on. Not so much an angle on red or an angle on blue or an angle on purple. Purple would be like the center, right? It's really about, are you thinking about what's being said, right? And are you considering what that conversation looks for the Republican side, the independent side, and of course, the other side as well? So what does that mean? What does that mean? The Democratic side, what does that mean? What is the conversation for you right now? So this particular convention, Trump was there. And the thing that I also want to mention on Trump before I actually get to some of the clips in this particular conversation is people forget that Trump is not only a politician, not only a businessman, but if he did stand up, he would be hilarious. So if you watch the convention conversation, the clip, if you watch the whole thing, you'll notice that even though the body language of certain individuals may not necessarily agree with anything Trump is saying, they have to laugh at the jokes. They just do. They just have to laugh at the jokes. So we'll play a couple of clips to that, and I'll share some thoughts after the clips. But I'm not going to play the whole thing because, like I said, 34 minutes. But whether the interviewer was right for the line of questioning at the beginning or wrong, I'll let you decide. You decide in the comments if her line of questioning was out of line, out of pocket, or was it right on for a candidate that's running for a second term at the presidency? Now, was Trump wrong for how he addressed it or right? I'll let you decide that. I'm not here to do that particular part of it, but I definitely want you to watch some of the clip, and it gets really, really spicy really fast.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today.
That's starting heavy.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they asked are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
So we're going to pause it right there. Now, so let's just go ahead. Was she right for doing that? I think a lot of conversation is like, okay, she went off on the former president. She should not have come out swinging like that. And there's a lot of conversation surrounding if she was right for doing that. And was she doing her job, okay? Or was she fulfilling her role by doing that? Right? So my thing is like, I'm not necessarily leaning any way right now when it comes to how she addressed or how she just right out of the gate, did that. I don't know if I'm necessarily upset or not upset about that, because I understand, and I think you do too, that when it comes to these political conversations, these panels, and the things that are involved in these panels, anything goes. But if anything goes means fact checking to ask the questions, and we're upset about that, why should we be upset about that? So I don't know. I don't know if I was necessarily, I felt any kind of way. I'm reserving my judgment right now on how she, came out of the gate with that. So,
well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that.
Is Trump right in what he said about that? So some people will say, well, the fact that he called her rude is, he shouldn't have done that. But yet, how would you go about that conversation if someone's coming right out of the gate and addressing you the way they did? Now, which I've never really checked of all the different things that she mentioned that he said to fact check. So if they're all true, do you still start the conversation that way? And I think that's the thing, right? Do you still start the conversation that way if it's all true that he said all those things? So now you have to weigh in, what is the proper courtesy at conventions and conversations dealing with individuals that you may not necessarily agree with their actions? Would she have addressed any other dignitary in that way? So there's a lot of different things that's happening in that particular conversation. But let's just go back. I'll play a little bit more. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can find the whole thing on ABC. I'll link to their video so you can check the rest of the thing out. But I think it was very interesting how some of this stuff played out. And even watching a good portion of it, he didn't really make a good case for himself, if we're being honest, right? I think we can agree there, because as a dignitary, you still have to present yourself a certain way. You still know the rules of courtesy and how to properly, present yourself in these platforms. So there's that too. But let's just play a little bit more of it.
Step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. and then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer the
very
question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I
believe
have
that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another 4
I have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
So Trump says a lot of things, and you have to, of course, fact check him or whoever he's running against, whether it's Kamala or whoever it may be, right? That's just the nature of this political cycle or whatever's happening. So the thing is, when it comes to politics or anything dealing with politics, there's always a lot of propaganda. That is why my team put together 12 rules for propaganda. Link in the description below. So Trump said he's been the best president since Abraham Lincoln. Is he trolling? And this is the other thing that, I wanted to say to you. It's like whenever it comes to Trump or anyone that is in front of a camera or a microphone and they're politicians, a lot of things they say, of course, you have to fact check those things. But the other thing that you have to consider as well is that these individuals have a sense of humor and they know that people will laugh at some of the things that they say, and you have to take those things into consideration. So is it true what he's saying about being the best president since Abraham Lincoln, or he's putting himself on a very, very big, if you will want to say, you'd want to say something like a Mount Rushmore of presidents, that's very, very interesting. But let's see what else is happening in the conversation.
That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act.
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition.
the
That's
word
crazy.
Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or...
All right, we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that because if we're, this is very interesting ground. So I want to see how I navigate this, right? So like I was saying earlier, I had no idea that this organization, NABJ, existed until I started seeing the news coming out, about Trump being at this convention, because I don't cover the news and politics up until recently, right? So for him saying that he didn't know that Kamala was black, I do not believe, okay, if you want to troll in the comments, fine, that I disagree with that. Because we're in an election year, and during election years, we always see individuals do things that they've never done before to cater, or whatever the word may be, to a particular demographic so they can get their votes. I've never known Kamala to be an individual that supports a lot of things in the African American community. I'll say it that way, right? And a lot of clips that I've seen, it was the first Indian American of this, the first Indian American of that. It wasn't necessarily someone who was presenting themselves as a African American woman. I could be wrong. But if you watch certain clips with Kamala and how she's presented herself in awards and how she's received those awards and how they announced her for those awards, it was an Indian American woman.
California's Kamala Harris is the first Indian American U.S. Senator.
And California's Attorney General Kamala Harris has scripted history as she won the U.S. Senate seat from the state, becoming the first Indian American to achieve this feat.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
All right, and you probably have never seen that before, and now that you have seen those clips, let's go back here for a second.
Is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified as a
what?
black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you believe
I
that
think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
Is the woman asking the questions at the beginning, is she wrong? I'll let you decide. Is he wrong for the things that he said that are fact-checked and true? I'll let you decide. But again, as I've said on this channel before, and I'll continue to say it again, politics, from what I'm gathering, is not about right or wrong. It's about who wins. I don't know, maybe that's profound. I don't know. It's really not. When you see how everything plays out in the media and you watch how people move from things that they were talking about to the things that they're talking about now, whether it's Trump or Kamala or Biden or whoever president that you want to put in that particular mix. It is a game of House of Cards. And then once we realize that, I'm sure you probably realized that at some point, but once you realize that this is a game of propaganda, once you realize that, you'll probably start looking at the politics that happens, whether it's red, blue, or purple, in a different lens. Make sure you watch this video right here. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.